Hey guys, Lord here, and welcome to a brand new series on my channel called Hunter's Notes. This series is where you guys can feel free to ask questions about Monster Hunter or give your ideas on Monster Hunter, and I'll give you guys my answers or opinions on those. I thought this would be a really fun way to get to interact with my community, as well as spark some fun and interesting conversations regarding Monster Hunter. I really would like to do this weekly or every other week, but that will depend on the popularity of this series and the volume of questions that I receive from you guys. If you would like to have a question featured on a future episode of Hunter's Notes, feel free to drop a comment in any of my videos or join my Discord. There's going to be a link in the description, and there's going to be a channel there for your questions. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first question of our new series comes from the artist, and he asks, what is some stuff from previous games that you're hoping to see changed in Monster Hunter Rise? So first of all, I want to go back just one game to Monster Hunter World, and I'd like to see permanent event quests return. I loved that while I was playing Monster Hunter Gen Ultimate, that I could just download the quests that I wanted to play, and they would just be there. No rotations, no missing an event quest because you were away for a week or something like that. Like, let's say that 5 new event quests come out, and each have a special ticket to make a new weapon or armor set, but you only have an hour or so to play a day due to work or school or something like that, and you can't finish all 5 armors or weapons, and then the events that you wanted disappear. Now you have to wait for who knows how long until said quests return. This was a really frustrating mechanic that they added in World, and I'd like to see them return to the downloadable permanent events of previous games. Another thing that I'd like to see changed is I'd like to see them lean more heavily into the armory. This seems to be very underutilized in every single Monster Hunter game that I've ever played, as the smithy is the far better option. In the smithy you can craft everything, while the armory has measly basic selection of early game armors and weapons. I'd really like to see that boosted somewhat. I'd really like to see them make it more viable to go and just buy a weapon or buy an armor set with your saved up Zenny, as opposed to always going and crafting everything. So maybe not every piece of armor or every single weapon needs to be available, but maybe once you've crafted it once, it's now available for purchase at a relatively high cost, or once you beat the monster, you can buy 1 weapon or 2 pieces of armor, so you still have to craft and grind a little bit, but it's not as difficult. And these things certainly would be at a relatively higher cost of Zenny, as it does block out some of the farming necessary. I know that in Monster Hunter World sometimes I'd want multiple of a weapon, or maybe one with health regen and affinity for my casual hunts, but then one with double attack for speedruns, and I'd like to be able to buy like 2 and not have to constantly re-augment the 1 each time I change what I'm doing in game. So that's just an idea, and these are 2 little things that I'd like to see. So what about you guys? Let me know your thoughts on what I shared or what you'd like to see change from previous games in Rise. The second question comes from Dominic, and it is, what are your thoughts on Rise being on Switch and not on the next-gen consoles that just came out? So I know there are a lot of mixed opinions on this, like why, after the most successful game Capcom has ever released was on the mainstream consoles such as PlayStation and Xbox, would you switch back to handheld? I think the most important reason is that Nintendo paid quite a lot of money to Capcom for this to come out first on Switch. What this really boils down to, in my opinion, is just how popular Monster Hunter World was. If you think about it, if Nintendo can get just a small fraction of the new players from Xbox and PlayStation to buy a Switch just to play Rise, Nintendo can make a ton of money on that. Plus, anyone who has played the previous handheld iterations of Monster Hunter probably already owns a Switch. A lot of people coming over from Generations Ultimate, Double Cross, anything like that. So I don't think also that the player base will drop off in any dramatic manner. I do know that a lot of console owners aren't too happy about this, but overall I don't think it will spark the death of Monster Hunter as a series or anything, and I don't hate the decision. The last question of today's episode comes from Matt, and it is, what are your thoughts on the new Hunting Horn moveset? It felt really overpowered in the beta, and I don't think many people like how much different it plays from the older versions of the weapon. So, I've seen this a lot during my streams and other videos, and I understand where you're coming from, but personally I love the changes to Hunting Horn. I think a lot of controversy in the older games happened over, do I sit in the corner as a Hunting Horn player and stay alive and keep my team alive, or do I actively attack and buff while dealing damage? And I feel like that is completely gone now. With no need to recital to get the effective songs, you can just attack like any other weapon and still provide vital buffs to your teammates. Even if you wanted to pay attention and heal your teammates and make sure that the buffs are always kept up, you can do that so much more easily now, as you don't have to constantly step aside or consider even stepping aside to play 10 seconds worth of specific notes, followed by a 3-second recital animation, followed by that again to get the XL effect or anything like that. I also think that this will make it much more accessible to anyone who is new to Hunting Horn. I saw a lot of comments in my World Hunting Horn videos about, oh, I haven't tried this weapon yet, it looks really fun, I need to go try it, I don't know, it just seems difficult to learn. And I think this was in part to how much you needed to know. You needed to know specific attack orders, and you had long recital animations that left you very vulnerable, and I feel like a lot of people didn't like the feeling of maybe standing on the sidelines and buffing. I believe that Rise's iteration of the Hunting Horn is a very balanced, fun, and extremely accessible to anyone who wants to give it a go. So that's going to do it for the first ever episode of Hunter's Notes. I hope you guys did enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe to catch more episodes of this series. Happy hunting!